A lot has changed in the last few years.
The wizard gave me superpowers.
From a film with poor marketing techniques to one that is about to be unwritten due to the DCU shakeup, the Shazam sequel isn't doing too well. In fact, it seems like no one wants to watch it.
I'd like to purchase some of your finest beer, please.
Shazam 2 is tracking to be one of the worst openings in DCEU history.
I can't do this. Take my powers back. You gave them to me so you can take them back, right?
That's a really, really big claim considering the track record that the franchise has had over the years. When you're competing against box office bombs like the Justice League and Black Adam and still coming up short, well, then you know you're in for a bad time. But that's pretty much the norm for the course when it comes to DC films. Box Office Pro has recently stated the latest forecasts for Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and boy do the numbers not look pretty. The film is set to earn between $43 and $52 million during its opening 3-day weekend. Okay, before all the doom and gloom starts, it's true that even with these numbers, it's set to be the highest grossing movie the weekend starting March 17th. But that's about the end of the praise the film is going to be getting, because even the optimistic 52 million number barely reaches the 53 million that the first Shazam film managed to make back in 2019. Oh, and did I mention that even that number was the lowest opening that the DCEU had up till that point? So from the looks of it, the film is set to break its own record, except it's a record of just how bad the film series did at the box office. And spoilers, turns out it's getting worse, which would be pretty similar to how the first movie did overall. Don't think the poor box office numbers of the first Shazam movie were followed by a great performance overall. Nope. The film made just about $363 million worldwide, and while that may look great on paper, for these big blockbuster superhero movies, that's no feat to write home about. But because the reviews were positive enough when it came out, a sequel got greenlit. And honestly, it's possible that the sequel may actually end up being good. The Shazam films have always been a bit different from the usual dark and brooding DCEU. They offer a little breath of fresh air, but it's just the fact that DC fans don't really want this sort of content. I mean, most of them are still rallying behind the dead and buried Snyderverse, even trying to get Netflix to revive it somehow, like that's ever gonna happen. So the fact that the Shazam movies aren't doing so well may not actually have to do with their quality, but just the fact that they've never really succeeded in finding their own audience. It's also worth comparing the film's opening weekend with some other movies in the DC universe. In terms of the lowest of the low, there's Wonder Woman 1984,
Nothing good is born from lies.
and The Suicide Squad,
Sorry. The voices. I'm kidding.
at $16.7 million and $26.2 million respectively. But let's keep in mind that these movies came out during the global pandemic and were released on HBO Max on the very same day as they were out in theaters, so the lower number can be excused somewhat. But then there's the movies that don't really have the same leverage. The next movie in the line is Birds of Prey at $33 million, followed by Shazam at $53.5 million. Finally, there's Black Adam, which made $67 million. These numbers would mean that the new Shazam movie could be anywhere between Birds of Prey and the first Shazam, which isn't exactly a great spot to be in.
What happened to me? Why am... What did you do to me? What did you do to my voice?
All this has led to fans' hype being at an all-time low. A fan mentioned on Reddit how it feels like DC will have to go through this rough patch before it can soar again. With Shazam 2 seemingly flopping and Aquaman 2 testing poorly, it looks like the DCU reboot is actually making more and more sense. Another person commented how the DCEU's Shazam vs. Black Adam is actually going to happen. But instead of the usual showdown, it's going to be a fight to see which has the least worst box office. Ouch.
Hands. Lightning with my hands. Lightning with my hands.
A fan also pointed out that this is a consequence of poor marketing. The sequel was barely marketed, which is made worse by the fact that the original movie wasn't watched by most people either. Though there's another reason why the sequel in specific is doing so poorly, and you may have guessed it, this is because of James Gunn's new proposed DC universe. I mean, it's no shocker that people don't want to go see a film that pretty much has no future. In an age where every superhero film is supposed to lead to the next and build up to a huge showdown, it just doesn't make sense to sit down for a film that's basically going to be unwritten the second the Flash movie comes out. It's going to reset the old DC universe, and that means that Shazam and all the fun adventures that he had in his 2 movies will be gone too. Reduced to atoms, just like that. Even if the film may be good on its own, you can understand why people aren't lining up to go to the theaters to see a film like that. In a way, the film got dealt the worst of hands. Despite looking like a fun enough flick from the trailers, it's releasing at what is probably the worst time ever. Before this film, Black Adam came out, and it was, let's just say, disappointing. Then the whole DC leadership change happened. This led to James changing the DC universe and deciding to start things from scratch. He even recently announced his new DC slate, and lo and behold, Shazam is nowhere to be found. So for now, this really is the end for the colorful DC hero. What a sad way to go. But it looks like the director of the film is confident that fans may get a Shazam 3 in the future. David F. Sandberg stated that fans shouldn't let Peter Safran and James Gunn's new DC shakeup make it seem like Shazam is gone for good. This was in response to a Twitter user who stated that all the drama going on with DC was killing their vibe for the movie. Plus, the fan wanted to know if the superhero would even have a role in the new DC universe. Sandberg made things pretty clear. If you don't go to see the movie, then the franchise isn't going to have a future at all.
Having such a good time, I'm having a ball.
You okay?
But if fans do showcase their support, then there is indeed a chance that the films may return. The director has been told that there's nothing in the movies that contradict the future plans for DC, so if Shazam is nowhere to be found in the new slate, there's a possibility that he may fit into a future story. This means that fans that aren't going to go see the movie because the superhero has no future, well, it looks like the future of Shazam is in your hands. Still, despite what Sandberg said, it seems unlikely that the superhero will be returning anytime soon. The DCU's upcoming roster of films are going to be released over the next several years, and it's only after these movies are made they will consider introducing more heroes into the mix and working on Chapter 2. Will there even be any hype left for the film franchise by that point?
You think I'm gonna put a demon ball in my head? That's disgusting.
You got me going.
I don't think so. But those are all the main reasons why no one wants to watch Shazam 2.